All-inclusive food and drinks at Busch Stadium had us wondering, what if everything was all-inclusive? St. Louis Cardinals all-inclusive tickets are on sale now. Go to cardinals.com for more information.
Hi, and welcome to the Randy Karraker Show, featuring Brooke Grimsley, who, by the way, did not have plastic surgery. She's pregnant. She's pregnant, okay?
I'm pregnant, all right? Here's something about how anatomy works. When you are pregnant, and by the way, I'm almost 9 months pregnant, so I'm flattered that I kind of use this to hide. It's kind of an old 90s sitcom secret where you have objects in front of your stomach to hide your pregnancy.
They do that on soap operas all the time.
They do it all the time. And so I'm flattered that somebody didn't realize I was pregnant, even though I've said it. When you're pregnant, you get big everywhere. It's not just the belly. It's your face gets puffy. Your lips get puffy. Everything gets really puffy. So it's not plastic surgery that I have. It was somebody tried to say on social media yesterday. It's just being pregnant. But I'm flattered because a lot of people pay a lot of money for those lips.
That's right.
You know?
They look magnificent.
Thank
do they
you.
not?
They look great. Thank you. It's called just get pregnant, and then you can have the same lips that I have.
Lips, yeah.
That's all you need to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a difficult time with that one. Sports Hub STL is presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours.
That was good.
How about our St. Louis Blues? I thought last night I was really not surprised. But I think we still have PTSD, Brooke, because of what happened with the Blues for their first, 53 years or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I'm up in the press box last night, and people are worried. I'm really worried. I'm scared. And so, even Curbs didn't have a great feeling about it.
Really?
Yeah. Now, several people did. And I was saying, Monty is going to have this team ready. And Monty had that team ready, didn't he? Boy, they came out in the first period, and they were ahead 4-0 after one, and they just dominated play. I thought it was interesting. Monty said after the game, I knew at the 8-minute mark we were going to win just because of the way we were playing.
I love the confidence with Jim Montgomery. And if you look back at every single move that was made going into the season and during the season, I point to Jim Montgomery being hired as the difference maker, the catalyst of what really propelled this group and made the changes forward. There's been a lot of players who have really stepped up their game. Robert Thomas being one of those guys. And by the way, it seems like he's fine. Montgomery said afterwards it was more precautionary why he exited in the third period. Always scary when you see that, especially with how well Robert Thomas has been playing since Four Nations. But I point to Jim Montgomery as the reason why this team has been able to be in the spot that it's in now.
Here's a question, and you can join us on the chat line. You're on the YouTube already. You can type. I don't think that there is a single Blues player that isn't playing better under Montgomery than they did under Drew Bannister. I think every single individual is playing better now. 100% than they did under Bannister.
Well, you even think about the guys that came in, like a Cam Fowler, how well Cam Fowler has performed. And Luke Horak put this out on X, and you can see it over there. But in the Ducks for 17 games, he didn't have a goal. He only had 4 assists, so 4 points, and he was -7. While with the Blues in 51 games, obviously a bigger sample size here, but still the difference that you're seeing. 51 games, 9 goals, 27 assists, 36 points, plus 19, and he's had an average of 21 minutes around total ice time.
Pretty remarkable. Remarkable change. I'll tell you another one that we've complained a lot about over the years. Well, and you've complained. I always liked Jordan Kyrou's skill set. You just wondered if it was going to, when it was going to show itself, because it was always there. At some point, he was going to turn into a great player. Jordan Kyrou has turned into a great player now.
Yes, 36 goals for him. He has. And look, some of the stuff in the past was warranted. I don't think, and we've discussed this too a long time ago, but I don't think the way that he handled that Craig Berube situation was the best. No. Was there probably some things going on behind the scenes where Jordan Kyrou, maybe some of the other younger players were butting heads with Craig Berube? Yes, Craig Berube will always be seen as a legend here in St. Louis because he was able to finally bring the Stanley Cup here. So I didn't like the way that was handled, but I give a player like Jordan Kyrou a lot of credit for how he's matured, not only on the ice, but off the ice too.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the notable aspects to Jim Montgomery. Some coaches, I think Berube is one, I think he would tell you that I think all coaches probably prefer to have veteran players, but the reality of hockey and in most sports is that you're going to have younger players. And when the Blues won the Stanley Cup, that was a veteran team. That, obviously, you had Bouwmeester and Petro and Gunnarsson. Joel Edmondson was a young player, but Parayko had been around for a while. And then you get O'Reilly up front, and you get Perron, and you bring in Bozak, and you've got Pat Maroon and Steen and Shen, and even Oscar Sundqvist had been around for a little while. Well, this group is really, really young. And Montgomery not only is able to get those young guys like Jimmy Snuggerud, Zach Bolduc, to an extent, Tyler Tucker, to ascend, but he's got a great relationship with the veteran players. I mean, Shen loves the guy.
Yes.
Right?
Wanted to stay in St. Louis
at
the trade deadline.
Yeah, and then you hear from those old and they're old defensemen. They just love the guy, and the ability to communicate with and get both young and old players to play at a high level is not an easy task for any coach in any sport.
No. And so now they'll be facing Winnipeg in the first round. Randy,
lose a peg.
It really starts to, I hate doing the 2019 comparisons over and over again, because as you just pointed out, two very different teams, and Doug Armstrong has even said that as well. But it does feel, I think it's more just the magical aspect of it, right? In 2019, you had that big run by the Blues. Everything was in place. You had a coaching change during the season, too, in the middle of the season, when you went from Mike Yeo over to Craig Berube. New coach comes in, changes the whole culture of the locker room and the performance of the team and the group in there. It just feels like 2019 in that aspect.
It really does. And I wouldn't dismiss the Blues' chances against anybody. And we'll get into this rebuild in a moment. But they have a great mix of young and old. And the best thing they have going for them, Jordan Binnington, 22 saves last night. Jordan Binnington, we know, is a big game player. And you're going to be in most games in the playoffs, in big games, when Binner is between the pipes.
I know that there were some people who were concerned when we were talking about those 3 straight losses for the Blues about Binnington and how he looked. Binnington during the playoffs is a whole different animal, though. I never bet against him in the playoffs. And you even saw during Four Nations, we're going to have a rematch with Hellbuck there too. You even saw in Four Nations, he just is able to really turn it up a notch into a whole different animal during the playoffs.
Yeah, he's a highly competitive individual. By the way, I don't think we're going to see Dylan Holloway. Unfortunately, I think that he might be done for the rest of the season. That would be sad. But Snuggerud, with his first goal last night, had an assist. He's got a goal and a couple of assists. You're able to relegate Bolduc to the third line, get some scoring there. I don't think all is lost because you aren't going to have number 81.
So was there an update about Dylan Holloway?
No.
Or was it just things that you were hearing?
Yeah, just you kind of hear things around the arena.
Yeah,
so,
and it's not.
Yeah, it's
not looking.
Doesn't
good.
seem positive, and the way that Montgomery couched it the other day, that he wasn't even close to doing anything that could help him. That was troubling. So hopefully he'll be okay and good to go next year. One thing about the Winnipeg Jets, and they had a big team when the Blues played them in 2019. The Blues aren't as big as they were in 2019 when you had Petro's 210, 215 pounds. Bo was a 220-pound guy. O'Reilly, a big guy. David Perron was a really sturdy 200. Tarasenko, 220-pounder. You look now, though, at Winnipeg with Stanley at 230. Luke Shen is on their team now. He's at 225. Barron is 220. They've got Nino Niederreiter at 218. They've got Vilardi at 216. They've got Adam Lowry, their captain, at 210. They've got Mark Scheifele at 207. I follow it at 201. They're loaded with guys that are over 200 pounds, and the Blues aren't as big. So my guess is going to be that Winnipeg is, and Scott Arniel is their head coach. He's done a really good job. He was a good, tough hockey player when he played. My guess is going to be that they're going to try to do everything they can to physically intimidate the Blues.
Oh, please don't bang up some of the guys. You don't want to see that happen.
No, but it's playoff hockey.
I
did
know.
that. Remember Chaser saying that if somehow magically San Jose would have won Game 6, they wouldn't have even been able to ice a team for Game 7 because they were so beat up.
I know. That's why I got so scared about Robert Thomas, because losing Dylan Holloway, I think, has been a huge loss for this team, clearly. And I'm glad that Jimmy Snuggerud, he's finding his game, he's finding his confidence. But still, Holloway has been a huge scoring threat for the Blues. And that freaked me out when I saw that last night with Robert Thompson. Like, you cannot have this happen right now. It just felt like everything was falling into place. Chad Harrington says the neighbors pass to Booch in for the second goal last night was an amazing play. They're going to have their hands full with Winnipeg, win or lose. It's been a hell of a season. So what is your expectations now? And Randy, I'll ask you this, and chat, you can weigh in as well. What is your expectations now? Because of the way that things have progressed, you had that 12-game win streak, Monty coming in, the players playing at a higher level than we've ever seen before. How much has your expectations changed for this group of what would be considered a successful season?
I think this is already a successful season. Get these young players playoff experience. It's successful. We could get a bonus, no doubt about it. I would think that every game in this series will be a close game, a hotly contested game, because both teams are so competitive. My only real concerns are, number one, that size we just mentioned that Winnipeg has. Hellebuck is great. And then the other thing they have going for them is the Blues' best sniper. I think even with the way Bolduc has played in the second half, I think we could all agree that the best sniper on this team is Kyrou, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Winnipeg is a team that can really load up the top three lines with pretty good goal scorers. So I think that is what I would expect. Connor had 41 on the season. Scheifele had 38, and then Velarde had 27, and Velarde plays really well against the Blues. So I would think that my biggest concern would be the Blues' ability, and it's not an invisible ability, to contain their top two lines.
I'm with you. I think that whatever happens, whether they make it past the first round, whatever happens during the playoffs, to me, it's already been successful, because this was way past my expectations. I felt like it wasn't too long ago that we were at that press conference with Doug Armstrong, and it felt like we were discussing a rebuild, retool, and now here we are getting ready for the Stanley Cup playoffs.
A few years ago, the old general manager of the Nashville Predators, who was it before Trotz? It was the guy who retired.
Oh, my gosh.
David Poile.
Yeah.
Poile, talked about a competitive rebuild, and now look where they are. Doug Armstrong never made any such statement. He said, hey, I'd like to rebuild like LA has. The amazing thing to me about this Blues team is that they've never even come close to rock bottom. They had the sell-off, and it wasn't very good. Then the next year after the sell-off, they're in the playoff hunt until the final week, and now back in the playoffs. That constitutes their rebuild. Chicago, let me just get for you. When's the last? Has Chicago gone 7 or 8 straight years without being in the playoffs? It's like an outrageous. At this point. It does feel like an eternity. I mean, you were a little kid, I think, last time. Okay, they've been once in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Once in the last 8 years, and they lost in the first round of the playoffs. The 2019-2020 Blackhawks did. That is a rebuild.
It is.
They've got problems. San Jose is in the same boat. Anaheim is in the same boat. The Blues have not been in that boat yet.
Yeah, they brought over the demolition truck and tore that thing down.
Yeah.
The Blackhawks haven't made it out of the first round since their last Stanley Cup win.
Haven't won a playoff series. And that was what, 2014?
Yep. That was in 2014-15. So yeah, we're looking at 10 seasons straight of them not getting out of not winning a playoff series.
Ooh,
I like saying that.
Isn't it nice?
I got a little tingle.
And
it felt good.
Anaheim is at 7 years in a row now without making the playoffs. So you got to feel bad for everybody that's associated with the Ducks. And since the Sharks went to the conference finals in 2019 against the Blues, they have not made the playoffs. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 straight years without the playoffs for San Jose. The Blues broke them. In
they
2019.
did. And for the Blues too, you only had 2 years, which still is it's a bit, I'll give you that, but 2 years of a playoff drought, and they were able to break out of that. And we talked about bringing Monty being a huge difference maker, but also what Doug Armstrong has been able to do, the way that he's been able to pivot. I think that's something that a lot of Cardinals fans wish that John Mozeliak could have done within the Cardinals organization a lot of times, is be able to pivot from maybe the original plan and find a better result. The Torrey Krug contract, that's something that we'll always talk about here. And bringing in Torrey Krug instead of bringing back Alex Pietrangelo. That was always really tough, kind of a bad mark on his legacy. But then the way that he has changed that narrative, the offer sheet, something that you just don't see in the NHL, and his aggressiveness about it, he's completely changed the narrative of how people have maybe have felt about him in recent years.
And think about what he did 2 years ago. Trading Tarasenko over 30, trading O'Reilly over 30, trading
which was
Barbashev
hard to see
over 30.
because those were the guys who were part of the Stanley Cup
Right.
run. So you have that feeling, that attachment to them. And they've been, well, I know that O'Reilly wasn't with your organization long, but Tarasenko had been too. So a lot of fans didn't like that move,
Right.
remember?
And then letting David Perron walk.
Yes.
Right. So,
Yeah.
and that caused an uproar. But here you are now with, here y'all are now. Snuggerud is 20. Bolduc is 21. Neighbors is 22. Holloway is 23. Broberg is 23. Hofer is 24. Toropchenko is 25. Robert Thomas is 25. You're loaded with players that are in that age range that Army always talks about. Kyrou is 26. And you've been able to navigate what should have been a rebuild, should have been something similar to Chicago or Anaheim or San Jose, but you did it with missing the playoffs twice and a very strong upward trajectory.
This is a faster team than 2019.
Oh,
when we're
faster,
talking about the comparisons where that was a bigger, more physical team, this is a faster team, which is exactly Doug Armstrong following the trends of the NHL. Those younger players, faster players, he was able to rebuild the team in that way where you have that young group that's locked in here for a good bit. Young talent, he said he wanted those guys under 30. That's why it was so controversial when he had to say goodbye to Perron, Tarasenko, and O'Reilly, because his focus was on making this team faster and more with the times of the NHL, and he did just that.
And he made the boldest of bold moves in the NHL by signing two guys to the offer sheets. And I think that's one thing that Cardinal fans, based on my experience in talking to people and being on the chat and on social media, Cardinal fans would like the club to make a bold move.
Yes.
And I'm on record. I don't hate what they're doing. I like what the Cardinals are doing. But once you get to that point where you feel like you're close, I think they need to make a bold move.
Bolder move this offseason for the Cardinals would have been moving on probably from Fetty and Matt so that you could give more opportunity to those younger players.
But here we are now with Cooper.
And nothing against Fetty. Fetty did great last night. But I'm
fantastic.
saying is when we're talking about kind of fully diving into the bold move instead of just tiptoeing, that would have been more of a bold move to give an opportunity to those younger pitchers.
And I said that. I said, yeah, move Fetty, move Matts, get the younger pitchers in there. Now you've got Quinn Matthews on the IL. You've got Hentz on the IL. Cooper Zerpe having Tommy John surgery.
They had those charts that said that that's more likely.
They were right.
They were.
So,
Cardinals always find a way.
Yeah, give them credit. And let's go Blues and Thomas. Saturday night, they moved a Nelly concert. He was supposed to be performing in Winnipeg on Saturday night. They moved the concert to Monday so that they could play game one of the playoffs on Saturday. And then game two, I believe, will be on Tuesday, obviously, because of the Nelly concert on
Nelly
Monday.
was going to be in Winnipeg?
Probably still is. I think we need to look for him in the stands on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. What a weird coincidence that is. That is really weird.
I wonder if he'll be wearing a blue sweater in the stands.
Yeah. He should be. That's what he should be doing there. Hockey. That just went away. Chad Harrington said, in the last game against Winnipeg, the Blues were smothered. How do they combat that to prevent losing?
Puck possession in the offensive zone. That's one of the things that I thought they had an issue with. And that is in part because of the size and skill that Winnipeg possesses. But I believe the Blues have a similar skill set, especially that top line. Buchnevich is not a little fella. Neighbors is not a little fella. And we know about Robert Thomas and his offensive and defensive prowess at this stage of his career. So I think the one thing you have to do, number one, the home team gets the last change, but have Thomas's line on the ice as much as you can against Winnipeg's top line. And the other part of it, I would say, is you've got to withstand their physicality. You've got to find a way, and I think Montgomery will, to stand up to how physical and big they are.
Can we show that Jim Montgomery clip? Because when we're giving so much credit to Jim Montgomery, I think it's because he's just so cool and confident, and you could tell that resonates really well with the guys. And so I wanted to show this clip this is from the St. Louis Blues that they put on social media last night of Monty's little speech right after their win.
Boys, congrats. It's a hell of a job tonight. That's Blues hockey, and congrats on making it to the playoffs, okay? Now, we play Winnipeg, in case you didn't know by watching the scoreboards. Playoffs, it's going to be fun, boys. It's what we worked all year for. It shows what you can achieve when you guys work as a group. That was awesome. All right, good.
I just like it so much. I mean, I think that sometimes, with messaging, we've talked about coaching matters, and it matters who is the guy that's saying the message. The message is probably the exact same that Drew Bannister had said for these guys, but it's the messenger. It's a different persona. Some guys are great leaders of men and can change the culture of a room like that.
And I was watching the video of his first win in New York against the Rangers when he walked in, and the last thing he said before he walked out the door is, "You're a good hockey team." And he said last night that he thought after that first game, when he saw the depth that the Blues had, that they were capable of being this team. And obviously he scouted them pretty well. He's just a good hockey man. I think he's a combination, Brooke, of what Ken Hitchcock was and what Craig Berube was as the Blues coach, and his ability, as we talked about earlier, to interact with both young and older players. But then, like Hitchcock, he can see the ice unlike other people. He knows things that other people that are observing don't know.
What was some of your best moments with Hitchcock where you were just like, this guy is a different level coaching wise?
Yeah, it was things that he saw on the ice during the game that I'm upstairs. I've got a bird's eye view, and he saw things on the ice that I hadn't seen during the game. And he just had such a keen awareness of everything, of all five skaters on the ice on a regular basis, and could tell you exactly what they did on every play in the game.
Like 10 steps ahead, almost.
Right, yeah. It's like, you know how a golfer, my third shot on number 7?
Yeah.
And Hitchcock was that way with a hockey game. He was brilliant, a brilliant hockey mind. But he didn't have the bedside manner that that Monty has. Monty, the players just adore him. And so I think you guys remember the story. It was told, legend has it, that during the 2016 run to the conference finals, during the regular season, Coach Hitchcock was getting on the players' nerves. And at one point, Troy Brouwer said, "Hey, why don't you just get out of here for about 3 days?" And Hitchcock did.
He did. He just said, "All right,
I'm fine."
Okay,
yeah. So he would show up at practice, didn't do a lot, but yeah, but the players were just kind of tired of him and wanted to get rid of him.
The perfect mix of old school and new school being able to resonate. Because Robert Thomas, we were on a radio show once. I don't know if you knew that or
back
not.
in the day.
We were on a radio show once, but you could tell when Berube was still around that there was something, and the reports came out too that there was something going on behind the scenes. It felt like with Berube and some of the younger players where he just was not resonating or connecting with them as much anymore.
And I think it's something that is natural for a coach who has won with veterans before. Like Tony La Russa hated having young players. He had some young players. Some coaches just don't like having young players. And some people, and I think Drew Bannister might have been one of these guys, they can reach the young player, but the older players kind of roll their eyes.
Yeah.
So it's hard to find both.
Ellipsis 150 says, Monty got that W charisma. He does have a lot of charisma.
Yeah, he does. I like him a lot. I'm a fan. All right, Jay Renegade. Sorry I'm late. I was actually working this morning. Well, thank you very much for getting out of that pesky work and joining us here. Deep voice, dude. And I guess we have to do it this way. So does any team with LeBron James? Oh, so does any team with hating young players. Got it.
We have an issue with deep voice dudes just kind of trolling the chat the last couple of days because he's adamant that the NBA is more popular than the NHL. And so we're wasting.
Well, nationally it is.
So we're wasting our time with this whole NHL thing in St. Louis. So he wants to talk about the Grizzlies lost last night. He's got some Greg Popovich thoughts in there. He thinks Nelly won't be at he thinks Nelly's going to be watching Timberwolves Lakers, not going to be at the Blues game on Saturday night. So he's a big basketball fan, which I respect.
It's great, yeah.
But don't troll the chat.
I was at the game last night, well before game time, and so were all the fans. And by the way, the game was sold out, completely sold out. Fans were in their seats early. They were loud. It was a playoff atmosphere. And I can guarantee you that the best that the NBA could have done is match that. And I like the NBA a lot too, but
I hate both. I hate both the Deep Boys do trolling, and I also hate this could be Ben saying, "What is this NBA y'all are talking about?"
He said National Baseball Association. Correct.
Yeah. Deep Boys do. Grizzlies are on STL TV. Yeah, they're on Bally Sports Midwest, or the Pacers.
Is there a lot of Grizzlies fans?
Bally or FanDuel?
St. Louis?
Yeah.
Is there a lot of Grizzlies fans in St. Louis?
No.
I mean, it's
really
it's technically the closest team.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the Pacers might be closer.
Pacers is 3.
I was thinking the Pacers.
Pacers are a clean 4.
Pacers are.
Memphis is 4.5. Yeah. Bulls are 5.
Pacers are
technically closest.
They're actually 3 hours exactly from my driveway. The Pacers are.
3?
Yep.
From your driveway.
Yeah.
So you've made this driveway.
I have made this drive. Yeah.
It's kind of impressive.
I want to go.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're better off going and seeing the W. I'd rather go see the WNBA.
Would you?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, you have
Caitlin
Caitlin Clark over there.
The Pacers are fun.
Yeah. Pacers are fun.
Halliburton? Come on.
Who's the Bazoo Cunningham? Sophie Cunningham.
Yeah.
Oh,
Really
yeah.
good.
Yeah. And
So
you can see Caitlin
she's
Clark
a member
over
of the
there.
Indiana Fever now.
Yes. Yes. Why do you think, and I know that we'll get into some Cardinals talk here soon, but we talked about this playoff drought for the Blues, and just talking to some fans, it seems like the fans were not as turned off by that as opposed to the Cardinals fans and dealing with this rebuild. Both of them were kind of on the same trajectory of rebuild. And you also have the transition of a GM or Pobo transferring over the reins. Why do you think that Blues fans were more willing to hang in there for the Blues rather than the Cardinals?
I think there are 2 reasons. Number one, the Blues won the Stanley Cup in 2019, and it was their first one. People expect the Cardinals to win the World Series on a regular basis because they won in 2006 and 2011. They think it's easy, and it's not easy. It's hard to win world championships. That's why the Yankees haven't won since 2009. And you would think that with the money they spend and the way they go about their business, that they would have won since 2009. They didn't. I think the other reason, though, is messaging. I think Doug Armstrong is better at disseminating the information, making it palatable for the fans than John Mozeliak is.
I think so. I mean, even the quotes from Doug Armstrong, I was going to pull up some of my favorite Doug Armstrong quotes. Remember how Mike Shannon, I don't know if it's still around, Mike Shannon has a website. There's a website dedicated to Shannonisms. One of my favorite things to see that we looked at in the past. But Doug Armstrong has had so many great quotes that I think just resonates with fans better, where it's aggressive. It's like talking to a friend. You know, what was it about stabbing somebody in the eye?
Take the knife, stab it in their eye, through their brain, and kill them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's violent and it's a terrifying image, but at the same time, I think it resonates with people where it's like, yes, that's how I'm passionate as a fan. And you obviously are passionate about it too. And you're displaying that by saying that quote.
It might seem violent. It might seem distasteful. Okay. Taking the knife, jamming it through their eye into their brain and killing them.
But then it would be quick.
Think about if it was happening to Nazem Kadri.
That felt like a death threat, Randy.
No, I'm just saying. It's not as unpleasant when you think about it happening to him.
Why would you do that to Kadri?
But right, correct?
I feel like I have to be careful legally.
Okay. Name the other
being associated with that.
No,
comment.
This is Army said it, and we're just talking about if it was going to happen to somebody. You guys know.
You know who.
You know.
Do you think he's the most hated player for Blues wise? Like if we're talking about competition right now,
right now, I think he probably is. I wasn't even talking about a player though.
Gronky says best Shannonism is him live on air trying to determine the meaning for NFT.
Listen, that's
a
really
good one. But there's a very easy.
Was it GIF or was it NFT?
The best Shannonism is.
Okay, what is it?
It is 100%. When he was confused by the moon.
Well, yes, I remember that one.
The best one ever.
I remember that one.
Sitcom level writing of
Matthew. We have on tape. We have audio. When is Cinco de Mayo?
Those two are the best. Yes, it's
no. But Matthew, how about I give my right arm to be ambidextrous.
That's so good.
You're building the Mount Rushmore right now, Randy. I'll tell you what.
We miss Mike Shannon.
We do. He was the best.
Yeah, there just the stories of Mike Shannon and like meeting him. I remember when I came to St. Louis and I needed an interview because a player had passed away. I can't remember who it was. And I remember Maurice Drummond, he was the sports director at the time still of KMOV. And he said, just call Mike Shannon up. And I'm like, what do you mean? I can just call Mike Shannon? He was like, yeah, here's his phone number. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so then I call Mike Shannon. He answers like one ring, answers like, hello. And I was like, hi, Mr. Shannon, can I get an interview? He's like, yeah. Just come up to the press box. Was so nice, was so kind, let me like hang around in the press box. It's just not something that sometimes you expect of people of kind of that, public figure magnitude.
And loved helping young people too, right?
He was so kind.
When I was a young broadcaster, he did everything he could to help me. Yeah, Mike was great and fun. So Jack Buck's birthday was on August 21st. It was 2 days after mine. And so one year, we've got like they have the birthday cake that they set up in the press lounge up there. And Mike is on the air. There's nothing like a great piece of birthday cake and a cold Budweiser.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, the moon one. The moon didn't.
Were they in New York or Milwaukee?
They were in New York.
In New York, I was like, they were playing the Mets.
Wish you people back in St. Louis could see this moon.
Yes.
It's so good. He says it with my favorite part is just there's zero doubt in his voice. He's like the sincerity in his voice. He I really wish people in St. Louis could see this right now without any thought entering his brain about it. It's what a beautiful man.
If you're not aware of it, Mike Shannon was maybe the best athlete ever to come out of St. Louis. Yep. Great baseball player, but everybody I've ever talked to about him as a football player says that he would have been a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback at the University of Missouri.
Really?
He knew football. He paid attention. So the last couple of years, the Cardinals were here in St. Louis. I was producing the football Cardinals, obviously. I was producing the games on radio, and Mike, after the baseball season, would come over and be the analyst. And so we would travel, and that's another thing he did. And I know he did this for Danny Mac too. He would take you to the cool places on the road. So like great restaurants. He introduced me to the turtle soup at Bookbinders in Philadelphia and stuff like that. Took me to great restaurants, a great restaurant in San Diego. Just a prince of a human being. Yeah, we do miss Mike Shannon.
So you can go to shannonisms.com and it will have, you can just there's a lot of quotes and you can just keep hitting quotes. The one that came up as soon as I go to the page says, that last pitch was a bit questionable and he'd like to say something to the umpire, but he won't say anything, at least not verbally.
Deep voice dude. Any old heads know who JoJo White is? STL Sports legend for the Celtics way back when, Hall of Famer, by the way. Played in that 1976, the epic finals against Phoenix, and the maybe the greatest game of all time with Tom and Dick Van Arsdale and Paul Westphal. That triple overtime game. Yeah, I remember JoJo White. He was a really good player.
Ellipsis 150.
Alvin Adams for Phoenix. Yeah, it was
Ellipsis 150 says, I remember Mike Shannon causing a bit of a PR firestorm by saying on air that the DeWitts were planning on selling the team. LOL. And then they went up to, was it the Post-Dispatch that asked a follow-up quote from him? And he said, well, that's what I heard.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
And that was one of his last broadcasts too, before he retired.
Oh, did he? So was that what was going on with that?
He was just retiring.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, like, where did he hear that from?
That's a good question. I don't know. I heard it somewhere.
Firestorm.
I heard it somewhere.
I mean, he wasn't wrong if he heard it. Then he did hear it.
Yeah. So back to the Blues. Who do we like here between the Blues and the Winnipeg Jets?
I have to go with the Blues, right?
Well, yeah, we like them better, but the Jets did win the President's Trophy. They're a really good team.
You don't believe in the curse?
No, I don't believe in. I believe in the curse against them. Mm-hmm. I think the Blues are going to win too.
I don't know. I just feel it. Maybe this is just me being really excited and hoping for another 2019 run, but it just feels like everything's aligning again in that way.
I wonder when and by the way, the President's Trophy curse is a thing, but I wonder when the last time the Jets played a really important game was. And they'll ramp up. They'll get to the intensity of playoff hockey pretty quickly, but because they had to win a game last night, and they did, it's been a long time since Winnipeg has had to win a game. And granted, they did beat the Blues last week, but I just kind of think that with where the Blues are and with the quality of coaching that they have, I kind of think they're going to win. And obviously, you got to win one of the first two. If you win one of the first two, I think you have a great opportunity.
Deep Voice Dude says Canadian team curse. That is also another curse that exists out there.
Only two original six teams. You've got the Canadians and the Maple Leafs are in the playoffs, and both from Canada. So neither will win the Stanley Cup.
So we're better.
America?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, kind of.
So they should want to join then, and maybe it'd work out better for them. Yeah.
I like that idea.
I think it would work out better for them, honestly.
I think that'd be really fun. Yeah, I think it would too. I'm with you, Brooke.
We're for it now.
Yeah. So I was thinking this last night. Okay, so when this is all said and done, are we going to, I guess we don't play another anthem before, we only play one anthem before games.
Are you saying when Canada becomes part of the U.S., state, then it's just, maybe you kind of mash up the national anthems?
That'd be good.
That's the main reason I'm against them.
Can we take theirs? Because they have a good anthem?
They have the best anthem.
So maybe we could just take theirs.
Better than ours? No.
Brooke, stop it. Like, it's better than ours.
Okay, here's my other question.
Slaps.
Okay,
our anthem's awesome. Our anthem doesn't slap.
When this happens, okay, so are you going to get like British Columbia and Manitoba and Ontario and Quebec and Nova Scotia and all these places? Are they going to have like one giant Better Together like we tried to have?
No. Well, it didn't work out here, did it?
Not quite.
No, it did not.
No, it's too bad. So LGB and Thomas and the Blues are making it a lot of fun right here in St. Louis. The Cardinals are making it a lot of fun too, except they didn't score last night. But we had a pregame Cards Hub 365, and we're going to have a postgame Cards Hub 365 after today's 12:15 game against the Houston Astros. Cardinals are trying to take another series. They took 2 out of 3 from Philly, take 2 out of 3 from Houston. You feel pretty good. The old math problem that I used to do as a kid, because my dad taught me this: win 2 out of 3 at home, play 500 on the road, you'll be in the playoffs. And you will. You will. So let's hope the Cardinals can get one today behind our buddy, Steven Matz.
Oh, Steven Matz. Yes, we have that 6-man rotation starting today for the Cardinals. Yeah. So that's something to watch for. By the way, John Denton of MLB.com putting out some updates on some of the players like Mason Wynn with dealing with back spasms that he has.
I wonder how long he's had those.
I had to go ahead and get it out of the way. Yes,
you.
They're progressing to hitting in the cages. So him and Herrera, are progressing to hitting in the cages and playing catch. Neither will travel to New York this weekend, but Wynn could join the team in Atlanta. He's eligible to come off the IL on Tuesday. He also said with Herrera can begin a running and catching program this weekend.
That's good to hear. It'd be nice to have Herrera back in the lineup so that they can continue to find out what he's capable of being. And I hope when he comes back that he's as hot as he was when he got hurt, just running. He was just running. So just a note for those of you that are in the listening and viewing audience: don't run. You'll hurt your knee.
They kind of have to do it for what they do.
Not Albert. Not Yachty.
They didn't. When they did run, it took a lot of efforting, especially for Yachty. It took a lot of efforting for them. So, but what happens? So then you say bye to Pozo, right?
No, you just keep 3 catchers.
Really?
Yeah.
You're gonna keep 3 catchers?
Yeah. Maybe JC goes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it depends on how well Mason Wynn's progressing. Yeah. Would that be the decision behind
Wynn
that?
will be back before Herrera.
I know, but then do you worry about with the back spasms? Do we need to start kind of like we've seen in the seasons past where you give him more off days in between? Yeah, you just go Donnie Baseball. Donnie Baseball at shortstop. And Donovan's been great lately. Been awesome. He's been really good. Yeah, so they have a lot of good players. This is, again, kind of like the Blues, a little different, but I think this ascent of the Cardinal young players is happening pretty quickly. And I'm a fan. I think that they've got a lot of really good elements. Now, one of the reasons that they want to give these guys 6 months is because when you have to play a full 6 months, it's a different animal. Mm-hmm. And we're going to know at the end of 6 months who can do it and who can't. Now, in talking to the skipper last night, they're kind of seeing what they expected to see from Matthew Liberatore when they finally gave him an opportunity. They've always had veteran pitching in the past that they wanted to give the opportunity to because they had them and they were paying them.
Well, and a couple of years ago, it was you had Waino and you had Michaelis. Last year, you had Gibson and Lynn, and you were even giving people like Johan Oviedo opportunities, or you would trade for pitchers. Well, now we're seeing what Liberatore is capable of doing when all you have to do is give them an opportunity to get out there and pitch.
Did Ollie say that if they ever thought, with what we saw going into this homestand, the bullpen struggling, if they thought about abandoning the 6-man rotation?
No, they have stayed with that idea of the 6-man rotation because they have very significant data that's been gleaned over years that tells them about when pitchers get injured. And it's primarily when pitchers get injured in March and April. And so they wanted to protect all of the arms, not just the young arms. And that's the reason that they've gone with the 6-man rotation. And obviously it's going to affect the way he plans out his bullpen on a daily basis too. It's not as easy to do it with 8 or 7 relievers as it is with 8. And he talked about that yesterday as well. But no, the Cardinals didn't consider deviating. I thought they would, but they have not considered deviating from the 6-man rotation. I also think, Brooke, that the Cardinals want to do right by Steven Matz and give him an opportunity to get some starts under his belt because he's a free agent after this year.
He
didn't have to walk into the bullpen and be happy and smile, but he did. And I think that because of the way he's handled the situation, granted, he's been hurt for most of the last 3 years, but he didn't have to be a good soldier in this situation. And I think the Cardinals wanted to take care of him because he's been a good soldier.
Eric Cleveland said, I was going back to that one that was just up a second ago where he said, no Nolan Gorman today.
Right, versus a right-hander. I don't know what the deal is there.
Has Nolan Gorman fallen off in Ollie Marmol's little trust circle?
I think that, I know at the beginning of the season, before he got hurt, they were still working on him being a finished product under Brant Brown. And maybe after the injury, maybe they had to go back to square one with that. I don't know. It's kind of weird that he's
fallen out of favor.
Yeah.
So you have Pozo catching today. You have Wilson Contreras as your DH. Brendan Donovan over at second. I still think that keeping 3 catchers might just add to this cluster a little bit more when you're talking about giving guys opportunities, including a Nolan Gorman and others.
Well, but I think the thing you have to look at is like the game on Friday night when Wynn got hurt and you had the extra catcher. But what happens if, like Contreras today is the DH and you only have 2 catchers, right? You want that third guy because if your catcher gets hurt and then you move Contreras behind the or another catcher behind the plate. If you only have 2, that's my point, and your catcher gets hurt, then you can effectively lose your designated hitter.
So in a worst case scenario, they're really not going back to Wilson Contreras behind the plate ever again.
No.
Because I know that there was a quote from Katie Wu with The Athletic, I think a few weeks ago when that injury happened with Herrera, where that was like worst case scenario, Wilson Contreras could go back behind the plate. But if he hasn't been working on anything as a catcher during the offseason, that probably wouldn't be the best idea anyways.
My guess
even
is
though he's been catching his entire life.
Right. My guess would be that they don't even take his catching equipment on the road.
Really?
Yeah, that'd be my guess.
I wouldn't be surprised at this point. Maryland Heights meat massager. I don't like saying that. Like I felt weird saying that. What?
You
what?
should. You should. That's a normal. That's you should.
Trade of a Rosarina.
By the way, on the text line, Robert Kraft's favorite person that chats with us.
Oh my gosh! Trade of a Rosarina for Liberatore is still a horrible trade.
Well, yeah. Now, it might get a little bit better. And a Rosarina's fallen off pretty dramatically.
But at least, like, you're getting something out of it.
Yeah.
You know, that's I think that's the biggest thing is that, of course, like, hindsight, would you have done that move in the past?
Not with hindsight, no.
Exactly. But at the same time, at least now they're maybe getting something more out of it.
Yeah. That's all you can ask for at this point. Yeah. We don't have hindsight, unfortunately.
No, dang it. But Randy, should we bring up the clip that's going on that we were kind of poking fun of at the beginning of the show? Because there is a lot of people who have hindsight when it comes to Wilson Contreras. And
yeah, we can do that. I do want to. Can we get that one though? Can we get that? I want to get. What's the plan if at the end of 6 months we find that the current crop of players are not cutting the mustard? Then you're going to have to use a lot of young players, and you're probably going to have to kind of go down to ground zero. But if this current crop, if the whole group isn't cutting the mustard, I would think that Arenado will still be here. I would be shocked if Mason Wynn wasn't given a multi-year leash because we know he can play. But let's say that the outfield at the end of 6 months, that Nootbaar gets hurt, that Scott isn't what they expect, and that Jordan Walker is not going to be a really good player. I think you probably see a lot more of Alec Burleson. I think that you probably see Chase Davis next year. I think Weatherholt probably gets moved to the outfield, or Donovan gets moved to the outfield. They've got other young players to take a shot at, but just throwing that group out there right now, the outfielders, I think that they have other players that they would take a look at. One of the problems that they would have, though, Dr. Zoom, is specific to Jordan Walker. They have to find a right-handed power hitter. There's not a right-handed power hitter in their system, and they would have to find one either in the draft or find one that in a cheap trade that they could do. They aren't going to buy an expensive right-handed power hitter.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a concern. And there's no doubt that 50% of prospects usually wash out. So there is a very distinct possibility that this group at the end of 6 months will not be what we think they are right now.
And how different that would look going with moving forward, because they're just not dedicating as much money to the payroll. Yeah. We've seen that's the whole issue. I think that's why a lot of people, including fans, are upset, is because payroll's going down and they're not going to do those big free agency signings, it seems like, anymore. So it'd be a very different era of Cardinals baseball.
I think that they like Donovan. So let's just look at the outfield. And I think we can go with what I said, because I think they've got multiple catchers. If the catchers don't work out, they'll look at Crooks, they'll look at Bernal. Just said that Arenado's probably going to be here. Wynn, Donovan, Contreras is going to be here. So you're looking at the outfield. So maybe next year you're looking at an outfield of Burleson, Weatherholt. By the way, they still love Michael Ciani. And maybe you give a guy like Davis an opportunity. He's at Springfield right now.
I think this is a really good question by Let's Turn To. If Gorman is on the outs, who takes over third base when Arenado is dealt? Because that was my whole thing. I know that a lot of people, even maybe it's not just the Cardinals, that he has fallen out of favor with. The fans, I've seen the comments of, we've seen enough of Nolan Gorman. We know who he is, but who is the person who's going to take over third base?
If you're looking for the future, number one, I'm kind of the opinion that if Nolan Arenado is here on August 1st of 2025, that he's going to be here for 26 and 27.
Probably.
I don't think he turned, by the way, happy birthday, Nolan, 34 today.
Is it his birthday?
It is. So do you take a guy, if you're another team with the contract, that turns 35 early next season and 36 early the season after that? Or do you try to do something younger and cheaper? So first of all, I think that's the case. However, if they would be able to move from Arenado, I think I would rather take a shot at Weatherholt at second and Brendan Donovan at third. Brendan Donovan, Sajaci doesn't have the best arm, but maybe Sajaci at second and Donovan at third. I would think that Brendan Donovan would probably, if it's not Gorman, get the first opportunity.
That's why it bothers me that the Cardinals did what they did in arbitration with him, because he is valuable. We've seen how valuable his bat is, but just in general, how valuable utility players are, especially the Cardinals have been great at finding great utility guys. Tommy Edman, Brendan Donovan now. I understand that that's part of their thing that they do, where they take players to arbitration. But Brendan Donovan, we talked about this, he lost his arbitration case against the Cardinals. And really, when you looked at the breakdown of it, it was something easily they could have just given him.
It would have been very easy. What I think we came up with was like $1.125 million. The difference in arbitration offers between the Cardinals and requests from the three players that went to arbitration. It was Nootbaar, and Donovan, right? That's such a drop in the bucket. It shouldn't have been an issue. By the way, Samuel Howe suggests Jordan Walker for third base. That ship has sailed. That is not going to happen. You're just not going to have a 6'6", 265-pound third baseman. And he might be able to play first. And I asked about that, by the way, if they'd ever considered the possibility of Walker at first, and they have. It's a possibility. But man, he's playing a pretty good right field. They really like the way he's playing right field right now.
Especially last night too.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks great in right field.
Yeah.
The progressions that he's made, he deserves a lot of credit for that he has improved so much defensively in right field. He looks so much more comfortable out there this season.
Yeah. And as we learned, by the way, and thank you very much to our social media experts. And I wasn't aware of this, Brooke. I don't know if you were aware of it because you have covered the team for a long time. But apparently, from what I understand from social media, the Cardinals, right after Paul Goldschmidt had won the 2022 MVP, they signed Wilson Contreras to catch for 30 days and then move around a little bit and then become their first baseman in 2 years so that they could let the MVP who had been named MVP less than a month earlier walk away.
I know. Somehow I missed that in those press conferences, Randy. Should we show the clip? I know that if you watched the show the other day, then you already know that what we're talking about here. We were discussing some of the bad free agency signings of the past or ones that have not panned out. And Wilson Contreras was a name that was brought up because obviously he was signed as a free agent. And Mike Leake.
Can you think of a free agent signing for the Cardinals in the last 5 years that has worked out? I mean, I look at Andrew Miller, I look at Contreras. Let's go over the last decade. Miller, Contreras, Fowler, Leake. Those are the highest paid.
I liked Jose Quintana, who, by the way, pitched well for
the
Brewers the other. Oh, you're right. That was a
stupid
trade.
comment, Brooke.
That was a trade.
Duh.
I'm trying to think. Free agent signing.
Free agent signings just have not gone well here. Even like giving Carpenter the extension. Albert, I guess Albert is when he came back as a free agent for $2.5 million. That was a bargain.
Yeah.
But aside from that, it's been pretty bad in terms of their evaluation of other teams' players in free agency. And I'm like you. I like Wilson Contreras, but the fact of the matter is they gave him $87.5 million to play catcher. And he 30 days in, they decided, well, we don't want him catching anymore. That's not a really good evaluation. Can you think? So,
comments.
I didn't say it's a bad contract. I just said it's not a good evaluation. And I would suggest that when you hire somebody for a job and 30 days later you decide, no, we don't really want him to do the job. And then you put him back. But then 2 years after you give him a lot of money to do the job, he's not doing it anymore. I think that it's safe to say that didn't work out. Now, I have some ideas about contracts that didn't work out. Did the Alex Rodriguez contract, even though he won 2 MVPs, did the 10-year, $252 million contract that the Rangers gave Alex Rodriguez work out? They expected him to be there for 10 years and for them to win. And, oh, by the way, Scott Boras told Tom Hicks, the owner, you can build a ballpark village right outside your ballpark. No real estate was built while Alex Rodriguez was there, and they wound up trading him. He was there for 2002 and 2003. They wind up trading him before the 2004 season. I would say that one did not work out for the Texas Rangers. I would say that the Giancarlo Stanton, $313 million contract, 13 years with the Marlins, didn't work out. You signed him to be there for a long time. He did win an MVP, but did he provide when you signed him on that day for 13 years, did he provide what you thought he was going to provide? No, because you misevaluated what you were capable of doing as an organization, and he wound up getting traded. So that one didn't work out. Did Max Scherzer work out for the Nationals? Yes, he did, 100%. Did Max Scherzer work out for the Mets? I would say no. So I think most free agent signings don't. And I think if a guy doesn't do what you signed him to do, for the most part, and this isn't, I'll say 99% of the time, if that guy doesn't do what you signed him to do, it doesn't work out.
And some of the posts that we got. So the important part of this is we're talking about more of the evaluation process too. And we discussed that at length in the longer version of the clip.
Can you do the one that says I don't have a brain?
Which one? There's so many. And so even this one says he was actually brought in to hit, and that's what he's done. You're wrong. And I said he was brought in to be a catcher. I was at those press conferences. His bat was a plus, of course. And the person said, LOL, his bat was a plus. You're ridiculous. His main, well, they misspelled that, is his bat. And that is not what was a plus. That's what he was brought in to do. Hence him being moved to first base, a hitter's position. What a ridiculous statement from you. He was brought in to be a catcher, and that's what we were discussing. And it's not Wilson Contreras' fault. He got paid $87.5 million to be a catcher, and it's not his fault that the Cardinals didn't have all the right stuff in place to make sure that he could succeed as a catcher. He was in their own division with the Cubs, and what did Joe Maddon do to make sure that he could succeed as a catcher?
He had Mike Borzello, a coach, specific to Wilson Contreras, that developed a game plan for Wilson every single day. It was basically Wilson's personal coach and helped him be a better catcher by giving him a plan every single day.
And the thing is that I think people are missing the forest for the trees here. So when we're talking about he has brought a lot to this table as being a hitter. That has always been a plus for him. And the Cardinals had mentioned that, but he was brought in to be a catcher. So with what we were discussing there, if he's brought in to do one job and 30 games into a season, they were trying to move him. They were just ready to abandon ship. That's a failure more on the Cardinals organization than Wilson. It has nothing to do with Wilson. And by the way, the people who try to push that back with the hindsight saying that, you know, they knew that eventually, because there was a quote, somebody said that to you, that they knew that he was going to be a hitter.
Oh, here it is.
Here's the quote. So
this is from Cardinals Red 96.
Yeah.
That's a weird name for a family to give their kid. Cardinals Red. They absolutely did not give Contreras $87 million to play catcher. The plan was always, in all caps, to have Contreras transition to first base after Goldie left. This was simple stuff that anyone with a brain can see, which I guess is why Randy couldn't.
He was the MVP.
Goldie.
Yes.
He was.
And
that very year
was that you were signing a guy to eventually take over for a guy that just had one MVP.
Yeah,
That's ridiculous.
He was named the MVP in the same month.
In the same month. It's ridiculous to ignore that the Cardinals said actual words out of their mouths in public about how important it was for them to go out and get a catcher with Yadier Molina departing. I remember it because a lot of people were confused. Why do you need to go spend so much money? Just because you've had so many legendary players at catcher doesn't mean you need to go out there and sign a catcher. And I think we're also forgetting the Sean Murphy factor.
Yeah.
And how much
they weren't willing to give up anything for Sean Murphy. So that's, yes, they weren't willing to give up Lars Nootbaar for Sean Murphy. So then they pulled themselves out of the Sean Murphy conversation and pivoted Wilson Contreras. And there wasn't any competition for Wilson Contreras. This could be Ben with a great point. Cardinals.
That right there.
Yeah.
The big thing is that they bid against themselves for a player and spent more than anyone else in the market was going to. Yeah. And yes, fine. And this gets back to our process results argument from earlier this week, Randy, because the process was wrong. They overpaid for a player that was not being dictated for a market to play at a position where he was not successful defensively. And the results have worked out because Goldie and everything happened with Goldie where first base opened up. Wilson's bat has got arguably even better than it was in Chicago. So things have worked out. The results are plus, but the process, which is what you guys were talking about, was undoubtedly flawed.
Exactly. And this could be Ben says, and I agree with this point, is that the Cardinals failed Wilson Contreras more than Wilson has failed the Cardinals. And that's what we said 100%. And just for the people and for the person who commented to you, Randy, but also to me in the comments.
Bab Reed, B-A-B-R-E-E-D.
Yeah, where they said, you know, Trevor said, you're ridiculous. His main contribution is his bat. That wasn't just a plus. That's what he was brought in to do. He was not brought in to just be a bat. He was brought in to be a catcher. This is a quote from John Mozeliak when they signed Wilson Contreras, okay? And you tell me what this sounds like, okay? We are pleased to introduce Wilson Contreras as the newest member of the St. Louis Cardinals. Wilson is a proven all-star performer who is driven to win each and every day. The Cardinals have had a lengthy history of standout catchers, and we feel that Wilson is someone who is capable of adding his name to that distinguished list in years to come. What does that sound like to you?
Sounds like they signed him to be a catcher to me, bro.
It sounds like, I was at those press conferences.
So
like, sorry for the high-pitched voice, but
I want to give you one
I
more.
was right there. Yeah. They literally, and you talked to Wilson. That was the whole issue, remember, of moving him, is because Wilson was even shocked that all of a sudden they're trying to move him.
One thing I do appreciate is the consistency of the social media warriors. So I want to give you so this is the same guy that said they absolutely did not.
We're just going in on this right now.
Yeah. They absolutely did not give Contreras $87 million to play catcher. Okay. And again, I appreciate the consistency. Then he says, I'm just using context clues and hoping my favorite team's front office was not dumb enough to think that Wilson. So we went from they absolutely did not give Contreras $87.5 million to catch to saying, I'm just using context clues and hoping my favorite team wasn't going to pay.
It's probably not a good sign that you guys are on Twitter going after these people and I'm on Facebook getting in an argument on the city page.
No, probably not good.
Probably not. We're taking the low road this week. And I for one love it.
We love it.
Oh yeah, I'm all about the low.
Probably not good though.
Ralph Longo says he needed a way better pitching staff and coach if he's a catcher. They all thought catchers were Yachty. Only Yachty is Yachty. 100%. 100%. Because remember, they also kind of let the pitchers gang up on Willson Contreras. And I understand that maybe he wasn't calling the game that they were used to. Yachty really did make these pitchers better. And he had full control of that. And so then to bring in a different person into the organization and expect them basically to be Yachty, everybody would be set up for failure in that situation.
I think it's interesting. AJ Pierzynski says that he's never seen a player be as in charge of an organization as Yadier Molina was during that time Pierzynski was here in 2014. That when Yadi was hurt, that he was in control. Isaac Hernandez, thankfully, Wilson is so cool. He was willing to move for the benefit of the team. And we get lucky that it works out for all parties. And that's largely due to his bat and attitude. Yeah, he's great.
It is.
And I do want to make one other point to our friend Bab Reed, who did say they absolutely signed him to play 2 years at catcher, and then they were going to let Goldie walk away, and he was going to go to first. If that was indeed the case, Brooke and Matthew, if that was the case, that they signed him to move to first base, why, when he turned down a trade request by the Cardinals and invoked his no trade, why did they say, okay, well, we're going to move you to either first base or outfield? It's your choice.
Yes, exactly.
Because I thought he was signed to replace Paul Goldschmidt, who, as far as I know, never played the outfield for the Cardinals.
No, he had not. You can't tell me that was the Cardinals' plan the entire time was to move him to a different position. That he was brought in to be a catcher for the organization, and he has, to Willson Contreras' credit, which we've given him a lot of credit. And we've talked about this going in the season. I am a huge fan of Willson Contreras because his attitude and how he's been able to navigate all of this. A lot of other players would have been just getting out of that organization. He wanted to stay in. He wanted to help this team. And he also pivoted his career path for them. Yeah. And it's honestly more beneficial for him too.
Absolutely.
The bottom line is that if these fans want the Cardinals to simply trip over, their own feet and stumble into good free agent signings, that's fine. It's not going to work, but you can roll with that. I personally would like the organization to be working with points of fact and playing the market in a intelligent way. That means they're going to get good deals. I feel like long run that's going to pay off, but that's just me.
People are we were like deep into these comments.
I know we were enjoying it.
It's immensely. A new thing. I don't know if anybody else is enjoying this, but it's a new thing we've decided to do where we'll clap back if needed.
Yeah.
If needed. Isaac Hernandez says, thankfully Wilson. Oh, you already read that one. I was just trying to find another one that just came up there. I had it stuck on my screen.
Maryland Heights meat massager. It's a bad signing no matter how well he hits. $87 million for a DH is just bad. He's playing first base now.
He's playing first base.
Defense.
Yeah.
Mason Wynn hasn't thrown the ball through his mitt yet.
Yeah. I don't think the Cardinals would have given that much money, though, just knowing
if they would
history.
Have known. Yeah.
Right. To a player that's never played a position.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least on a regular basis. I don't think they would have done $87.5 million. But maybe that was the plan, and we just somehow missed that in all the conversations. Because I can tell you the full breakdown. I remember clear as day. If we go back to that trade deadline, where remember Yadi's final season, he didn't show up around trade deadline because he was down in Puerto Rico with his basketball team. Traded. Where was he? He was down in Puerto Rico, wasn't he? He was with his basketball team. And remember, John Mozeliak went to the media members and said, maybe we need to start looking at getting a catcher. And that was a way to get Yadi back. And then they made it really clear, because it's not like it was a surprise retirement, that their focus, Mozeliak said that plenty of times to the media, their focus was to get a catcher during the offseason. So then what do they do during the offseason? They look at Sean Murphy as a possibility. They're not willing to give up Lars Nootbaar.
whatever it would have taken to get Sean Murphy. So then they pivot away from that and they focus on Willson Contreras. And they say that it was a dinner with Ollie and John Mozeliak that sold Willson Contreras.
4 hours.
4-hour dinner. I think they went down to Florida or something like that. And that's what sold them. And at the press conference, he was introduced as the catcher for the organization moving forward. And they have such a long history with great catchers. And Willson was going to be hopefully the next in line to do that. Nothing about being a first baseman. I can tell you that.
No,
nothing
not at all.
Ever.
No. Brooke, did you know that baseball season is officially here and you can use your DraftKings Pick 6? I have picks today. I'm going to use the birthday boy to get more than 1.5 total bases.
Okay. Nolan Arenado, by the way, if you missed the birthday shout out.
Yeah. And I'm also going with a Cardinal double play here. I'm going with Lars Nootbaar to go with 1.5 plus total bases too. So Arenado and Nootbaar against Ronel Blanco to each wind up with more than 1.5 total bases. And that is because I'm really excited about playing DraftKings Pick 6. Think of DraftKings Pick 6 as your fastball right down the middle, the easiest way to play for cash and take a shot at a big win. Take 2 or more players and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat, just like I did with Nootbaar and Arenado with more than 1.5 total bases through hits. Pick 6 available right here in Missouri, also in California and Texas and Georgia and more. You can cash in on your baseball knowledge. New players get $50 in Pick 6 credits instantly on just a $5 entry. Download the app today and, like me, play DraftKings Pick 6.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
The crown is yours.
What are you working on over there?
So I need to pick a third player.
Okay.
So I'm debating here. Should I take Jeremy Pena? He's hot. He's going against the left-hander and Steven Matz. Should I take Jeremy Pena to go over 1.5 total bases?
I like that one as your last one, as the third one. Before we get into the Grim Report, I have an update because yesterday, Brooke, you weren't here, but we got into a food talk, which shouldn't surprise you.
No.
Specifically, we got into weird food talk because Joe Roderick, we were talking about Uncrustables yesterday.
Oh, I love Uncrustables.
2 days ago. And we eventually started talking about peanut butter and jelly. And Joe Roderick broke out his Jerry Garcia-inspired creation of putting Doritos on peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And so Joe right now is actually in the back office of Sports Hub STL crafting peanut butter and jellies with Doritos for us to eat live on the air, because yesterday, Brooke, we tried a candy bar that had bacon bits and chips in it.
It was interesting.
Was it good?
But we will be having peanut butter and jelly with Doritos coming up soon, thanks to Joe Roderick. Yeah.
I might honestly have to skip out on that one.
I know
I'm pregnant and I'm supposed to have weird cravings, but I don't even think that even is close to any weird cravings.
Peanut butter and jelly with nacho cheese Doritos, obviously.
Pretty good.
You would never do Cool Ranch.
No, I don't know if one's better than the other, Rock. Yeah. I don't know if one makes me fun.
Worse than the other.
And this will show up, by the way, the recipe will show up in our newsletter.
Is it actually?
Yeah. Well, we will make it. We'll make it show up in the newsletter.
We need to pick a name for the food segment. We've heard.
How about the food segment?
Sports Pub STL. We also heard Sports Grub STL.
There you go.
Is any other good ideas out there right now? Sports Pub STL and Sports Grub STL are very hard to beat. Yeah. So if you got a better one than that, let us know.
And subscribe to the YouTube page. Like what you're watching right now. And if you haven't already, go to sportshubstl.com. Sign up for the Hub newsletter. Sent to your inbox twice a week and anytime St. Louis sports news breaks. You'll be the first to know about Sports Hub STL events and merchandise. Get exclusive content and prize opportunities and more. And while you're on the site, check out all of the St. Louis sports content, including game recaps, programming highlights, sports news and opinion, gambling tips, and more. It's all on the website at sportshubstl.com.
What is it? Did somebody say something on the chat? Sports Pub STL. here for food talk, by the way.
No,
100%.
We got a comment from one of our chatters, which happened to overlap with the argument I got in on Facebook early in the week. Aaron Dobson saying, I'm more pissed that the STL media is okay with mediocrity. We act like the team is much improved when the team is in 4th place in a crap division. And I guess my thing is, like, there's fans out there who are indignant when we're not indignant. And my thing is just like, I get angry about a lot of stupid stuff, but the one thing that I can't get like pissed off about is the reality of a situation that I have no control over. So it's like, yeah, they're mediocre, but I'm not going to sit here and rain fire and brimstone because I believe that the team is trying to improve. And that's at this point what really matters. And so I'm just this whole mindset of like the media doesn't rain enough fire and brimstone for the fans' taste. It just confuses me.
Well, I think that one thing we need to realize, and we've only been hearing it since October, so I guess it probably hasn't resonated with some as of yet, but this is not a year that the Cardinals are playing to win the World Series. Sadly, they didn't sign any free agents until right at the end of spring training when they brought in Phil Maton, or Phil Matone, as I like to call him. The Cardinals right now are playing a group of players that are very, very young. As a matter of fact, Matthew or Brooke, who has the starting lineup at their ready right now? Can you provide?
I got it right now.
And let me respond to the players that are in the starting lineup. Okay, go ahead.
Lars Nootbaar leading off, playing left field.
Lars Nootbaar is 28 years old. Okay, 27. I'm sorry. Next player.
Wilson Contreras.
Wilson Contreras is 33. He's been moved from catcher to first. He wouldn't be here if he would have agreed to a trade.
Brendan Donovan.
Brendan Donovan is 28 years old. Really good player in his prime.
On a $2 million contract.
Yeah.
Nolan Arenado.
Nolan Arenado is, as you know, he's here because he invoked his no trade clause. Otherwise, the Cardinals wouldn't have him on his team. They'd have Nolan Gorman playing third.
Ironically enough, and invoked his no trade clause because he didn't think Houston would be competitive.
Yeah, interesting.
Alec Burleson, batting fifth.
Alec Burleson is 26 years old.
All-star?
No, not quite. Still trying to find his way as a major leaguer. They want to give him opportunities to get at bats.
One full season in the major league.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jordan Walker.
J-Dub is 23. Turns 24 next month.
J-W.
Joe Helpozo.
I don't even know.
I don't know. How old is he?
He's 28 years old. He's got 12 plate appearances this year. Not much time in the majors. Certainly not a guy that you bring in with the expectation of winning.
Victor Scott II.
Vic, as the skipper is wont to call him, is 24 years old, and this is, again, his first full year in the majors.
And Thomas Ajacey.
Thomas Ajacey was brought up a couple of weeks ago. A week and a half into the season. He's a 23-year-old infielder who was traded in a sell-off by the Cardinals a couple of years ago, traded to the Cardinals. This is not Murderer's Row. This is not the 2001 Arizona Diamondbacks of Matt Williams and Jay Bell and Tony Womack and Mark Grace and Steve Finley and Luis Gonzalez. It's not a group of players of free agents that was brought in with the expressed idea of winning. Now, if they win, bonus, good thing. But to expect that group that we just talked about to be a contender for a World Series in 2025 is folly. And you have to understand that the Cardinals didn't lie to you about this. They told you this was going to happen. It is what it is. They didn't tell you that this team was going to be a World Series contender this year. As a matter of fact, they told you the opposite. They said, we are going to have a year where we're going to develop our young players, right?
It's not an excuse. There is a reality. Like you just have to deal with reality sometimes, my guy. Like sometimes the world simply is not going to work out for you. Sorry, that sucks. But the Cardinals are not going to win a championship this year. But if they're trying to build a team that can win a team in 3 years, those are the decisions you have to be criticizing. That's why we were with the chat. We were running with the chat when they were criticizing the Cardinals for the lack of direction in their messaging over young players being a priority this season. That's why we've talked about Nolan Arenado's non-trade holding things up because it stopped them from being able to do that. and they couldn't just sit Nolan Arenado because they do, to a point, still care about winning baseball games.
Yeah. Can we? I can play the other game too. If
what
would the Cardinals' record be if they won today?
500. No, but one game above 500. No, they lost yesterday. So yeah, one would be.
They would be. Would they be 9-9?
I believe they would be 9-9. Yeah, they'd be 500.
Okay. The 2004 Cardinals were 9-9. I have every expectation that this team is going to win 105 games. There you go.
You see, that's what we're talking about. The media just letting the Cardinals off the hook.
Yeah,
you're all sunshine and lollipops over there.
You know what? If they don't win 105, I think they should get rid of their president of baseball operations. I'm holding him accountable.
And he doesn't get to go retire and be like special VP of projects in Florida.
No.
Okay.
I guess I'm also like confused by this idea that sports media's job is to hold private employees accountable who you don't think are doing their job well enough. Like there's a very different line in the sand when we're talking about like a political journalist and a political person, but like going up to somebody who's making $3 million and quote unquote holding them accountable to me just seems like a farcical, ridiculous expectation.
The people that are capable of holding a sports franchise accountable are holding the Cardinals accountable right now by having so many empty seats in the ballpark. You are the ones that are capable of holding a pro sports franchise accountable by not going to the games, and you're doing it. So don't talk about us. It's your job to hold them accountable by withholding your dollars, and you're doing it. You're doing it successfully.
And also sometimes some of the questions too of like, what would you ask? Like, what would you want us to ask? Well, it's like,
I got it. I know.
What
makes you think you deserve this job?
How dare we not ask that question?
and then you have to kind of look at what it says on the back of the credential of where they could take away your credential for any reason necessary.
And that's like, I'm not even worried about that necessarily. It's like,
but it's just not even a proper question.
If they want to do that, that's fine. I'll be happy to go on the air and excoriate them for that if the questions are reasonable. But that wouldn't be a reasonable question.
No, I don't think so.
And I guess I'm just is asking the players like, hey, this went wrong. How did it happen?
How and why? That's our job.
That's what I've always thought. And I guess like I understand that like I'm not a journalist necessarily. I'm not trying to uncover the deep, dark, seated secrets of the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm trying to find out why Jordan Walker didn't get any reps at third base if they knew or if they were planning on Nolan Arenado to be out of the door in 2 years, something like that. Like is the depth of my like investigative questioning for the Cardinals. And I don't think that's irresponsible.
No. And yesterday before the game, I was in the clubhouse talking to, I think I mentioned, friend of the show, Steven Matz, and asking about the why he pitches the way he does. Why? And I think that's an important thing. Why do you pick out a certain pitch at a certain time? The conversation was born of a conversation I had with John Smoltz when he was here, and then subsequently with Adam Wainwright. And the question was, with Smoltz, one time he revealed, I don't know how or why, we were just in a conversation. He said, it was a conversation about third time through the order, which was even a thing in 2009 when he was here. He said, I always hold back pitches. I don't let the hitters see everything that I have because I know I'm going to see them again. And I don't want them to have seen everything I have so that the next time I see him, I've got a surprise for him. And I asked Adam the same question, and Adam said, no, if I've got a pitch that I can get him out with, I'm going to use it. I'm going to let him see my whole arsenal. So I asked Matt's his approach yesterday, and he said, it's funny. I used to do that. I used to hold back, and now I do whatever it takes to get him out. Then he kind of he thought, maybe I will do that. So it'll be interesting to watch today. If you see some pitches maybe in the fourth or fifth that you didn't see in the first, second, or third inning with Steven Matz. But so the question is, why do you do that? And it makes sense with the Wainwright approach or the Matz approach. It's you do everything you can to get that hitter out in that particular at-bat.
And that's what those conversations are about. Instead of just kind of assumptions, it's more conversations of what is your thinking behind some certain decisions.
I asked Ali Marmol, one of the questions that we have all the time, extra innings on the road. Why don't you butt a guy over? He said, well, if I have Helsley available in the pen, I will, but generally I'm not going to trust another guy with a runner at second and nobody out. And the other part of it is not everybody can bunt. Not everybody can bunt.
Not
By the
everybody
way,
can.
I'll agree.
Bunting is a lost art.
St. Louis media, I guess we could be a little bit tougher, but at the same time,
we could be bigger jerks.
You were getting my point. We make fun of Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
Like we should not. That should not be a paragon. That should not be the city on a hill of what media markets should be like. That should
or
be
New
a
York
warning sign.
Yeah.
And maybe we should get a little bit tougher here. I'm fine with that argument, but the people who want it to be like full on Philadelphia or the way it is in like other sports in other countries where it's just like you are like holding people personally liable for not being as good at their job as the other people in the field, it just seems a little odd.
Well, I've always thought, and this will be my philosophy until the day I die, which hopefully will be a while. But I've always thought that when I do go, if the biggest complaint about me is that, that Randy Karraker, he was too nice of a guy. If that winds up being my legacy, I can live with that.
That's not bad. Well, and I think that honestly, having worked in different markets, I think that the media represents the fans. So for Philadelphia, what do you think about Philadelphia people? Like we discussed this, like they're a little bit more aggressive of like a group of people. And I think the media reflects that. New York is just like, go, go, go. What are you doing for me now? I think the media reflects that. I think that the media always reflects what the people are like and the fans are like.
I agree. Yeah.
The more rational ones, maybe not the most vocal, but the more, I just said rational and Philadelphia fans in the same sentence.
In Boston,
you get what I'm saying. Like you get what I'm saying in Philadelphia. Like that's
Boston's really something too. Can we bring Ellipsis 150 with the deep secrets back, please? Okay. Deep secrets of the Cardinals. Did you know that a long time ago, former Browns, now Cardinals owner Chris Vanderhaa, who also wound up pitching for the Cardinals a couple of years ago, erected a statue of himself outside Sportsman's Park, a statue that still exists to this day. The status was moved to his gravesite and still stands.
Our good friend Chris Gardner took a pilgrimage to that statue.
Oh, did he?
Took a pilgrimage.
Yes, he did.
So, and I was really surprised that he wound up pitching for the Cardinals a few years later.
Randy.
I love the chat sometimes because we get stuff like this.
What was that guy's name? Remember the picture that they had?
Oh my God! Yes, that you dubbed him. I can't remember who it was.
Maybe you guys will
It was
remember.
recent. It was recently.
Oh God, it's really bad that I can't remember.
I can't remember either. Right-handed reliever, like in 22.
Says one of our owners is dead. That could explain some things.
That's true.
Oh my gosh! All right, do we need to do a quick-ish Grim report here? Okay.
Hold on. Do you want me to do a commercial?
Oh yeah, if you want to, go ahead. Go right ahead.
I've got a commercial for you because the Battlehawks are back in action this weekend.
Yeah.
And you need, as fans, to be sure to catch Battlehawks Hub Weekly, now available on Sports Hub STL's YouTube page with Luke Slaybaugh and Judy Strotter as they get you ready to take in the Battlehawks games. Battlehawk coverage on Sports Hub STL is presented by, you see it there, Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. With the new Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken Battlehawks box, you can score up to 30% off Battlehawks tickets, plus get 4 of their famous breast strips and a side of potato wedges for just $8.99, only at Lee's Famous for Chicken. Did we figure out that guy's name yet? Chris Vanderhaa? I'll find it.
You'll figure it out. Yeah. Well, I'm sure we'll have somebody remember. I remember that like recently.
Yeah,
it had to have been while we were doing radio
23.
together or something like that. There was something specifically, but anyways, Grim report, quick one here. So Bill Belichick back in the headlines because college football is just weird in general right now. Can we go ahead and get that out of the way? By the way, if you've been following the Nico Iamaleava, it was Drew Verhagen. Yes. Oh my gosh. How did I forget about him?
Yeah. Chris Vanderhaa, Drew Verhagen.
Vandy boy. How did I forget about that?
Yeah, there you go.
Oh
Vandy
my
boy.
gosh.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, I'm glad that you remembered. That was driving me nuts. Anyways, I forgot about Drew Verhagen.
He was forgettable.
What is he doing? What is he doing now? Hanging out?
Probably changing tires.
He was a nice
somewhere.
guy, though.
Really nice guy. Although he got a good contract. I'll bet you his. If he was smart, he should have been able to set himself up for life. How much do you think his career earnings in baseball were? We'll allow you guys to take a guess.
I'm going to go with 17
million.
Brooke?
Didn't he pitch in Japan a little bit?
Yeah, but this is just his major league.
We're only looking at America, right? Is it going to be like 7 or something million?
7,128,300.
Give me on the prices right now. Give me on there now.
Yeah. By the way,
diaper money.
Yeah, in 2 years, made 5.5 from the Cardinals.
Okay. All right. Drew Verhagen, we wish you well. I don't know where he is. Maybe he's overseas. I was trying to look this up.
He's probably.
I think he's in Japan.
Oh, back?
Congrats.
Good for him.
Maybe? I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm seeing an article that says that. Speaking of articles, Bill Belichick at college football is really weird.
Nippon Ham Fighters.
Is that where he is?
Mm-hmm.
Aw, well, that's fun.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd like to fight Ham, but still, go ahead.
All the players seem to have great experiences and have fun pitching over in Japan. Yeah. Like Miles Michaelis, loved it. His wife became a huge celebrity over there.
Oh yeah,
because she was she was like a ring girl or something like that over there in Japan for fights or something.
That's cool.
Anyways, Bill Belichick, I believe that his legacy is getting tarnished. If it wasn't tarnished already, and I know, Randy, you have certain feelings about Bill Belichick, so that reputation was already tarnished in your opinion. But now I believe it's getting worse because The Athletic, they decided to do a deep dive into what's going on with Bill Belichick and UNC and how involved his girlfriend is. By the way, happy birthday, Bill Belichick, 73 years old, and he's got himself a youngin', 24-year-old girlfriend.
How old is Jordan? 24 still, huh? Okay.
And he just turned 73. So when they were looking into some of the emails and stuff, she is very involved and almost is kind of handling herself like his PR agent almost. She wanted to make sure it was really clear that his son, who's on the coaching staff, isn't seen as getting special privilege. And so no photos together, different stuff like that. She was making sure that people were deleting comments or getting rid of comments about Bill Belichick being seen as a predator or a bad person. I think that this is ruining his image even further. He looks like an old man getting taken advantage of.
I think everything that every email that I read in the story, I thought it was fine. I would want somebody doing that for me. I think it's probably because she's his 24-year-old girlfriend, but it was a 55-year-old man. If it was like Michael Lombardi that was writing the emails, it'd be fine. She's just protecting her man.
But Randy, how many other coaches do you see where they let their girlfriends get involved this much into the operations day to day with the program that he's
she was on the
with?
Field. She was
on the field.
Yeah, that's probably not great. But in this specific instance, I have no problem with the way that she was going about her business.
It's a little bit too much, in my opinion. It makes it seem like she's coddling him and that she is the one who's leading the charge. How is he not embarrassed by this behavior?
He's a 73-year-old man with a 24-year-old girlfriend. He's not embarrassed by anything.
Samuel House said she's an assistant to the head coach. That's what it seems like, but she's not even technically on the staff. That was something else that they uncovered in the article too.
Yeah,
is that she's not really technically anything.
Yeah, but I mean, just if you subscribe to The Athletic, don't you want to get yourself somebody who looks at you the way she looks at him?
Those are crazy eyes, Randy. Yeah. That's what we call crazy eyes.
It's love. She's in love with BB.
I don't know. And maybe you could say that it's sweet that she's very protective of him.
I think it's sweet.
But I'm just not buying into this whatsoever. And it looks like she's just kind of taking over operations. And I just never imagined, if you would have told me a few years ago that Bill Belichick, one, would have a 24-year-old girlfriend, but he would also let her kind of publicly handle the reins and even his legacy in this manner. Would you ever imagine Bill Belichick would be like this?
No, I would not. I would think that he would be more like Jimmy Johnson. Although maybe he is being like Jimmy Johnson. When Jimmy Johnson left Miami to go to the Dallas Cowboys, he divorced his wife. He said, in college, you need a wife, not in the pros. So that was his reasoning. So maybe Bill Belichick, believes that he needs a significant other to take to fundraising functions, et cetera, et cetera.
She's everywhere. She's everywhere with him. He also said reportedly in an email, I cannot believe that UNC would support me being called a predator. So that was in response to her making sure that people were being blocked and comments were being deleted that were anything negative about Bill Belichick and her.
If you have to protect Bill Belichick from social media comments, because he's so fragile, because he's so old.
That's what I'm saying.
You're so worried about him. You are a predator.
It's weird. It's weird.
If
who's the predator here?
Him.
Him?
Well, I mean, both of them.
A little bit of both. A little column A, a little column B.
Okay.
I'm just saying, if Bill Belichick needs to be handled with kid gloves, like an old man, then you are being a predator because This is Bill Belichick. This is a guy who would email his all pros, cursing them out with 30 F words. And yet you can't deal with him getting a little criticism over social media.
Maybe it was his ex-girlfriend that were sending out the emails.
Because he was with her for a long time.
I do not
and
think
never
that
put
she
a
was
ring on
saying
her
to
finger.
Matt Light the things that were being emailed to Matt Light from the coach's email. And so he's gone soft, and she's wheeling him around like it's Harding after the stroke in the White House. This is pathetic.
It's like, I mean, it feels like elder abuse almost.
Yes.
It feels like elder abuse. I think they're both I feel like they're both benefiting off of this a little bit. He seems to be having the time of his life. That's for sure. It's just weird.
I don't know. He's just having fun.
You always like to support love. That's what it is.
True love. Yeah,
you just always like to
Like
support
they're both
love.
getting something out of this
He
transaction.
and J Hud,
But the problem is we're supposed to call foul when people live transactionally like this.
We're
supposed to be a little bit like, this isn't as clean as you're acting like it is. Come on now, it's a little weird. I'm not a kink shame, but like ringing the bell a little bit.
It's weird. Also, I thought this was funny too. Kind of side mark in the article as well. Belichick signed a document with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, consenting to an application for 14 phrases, including Chapel Bill's
Makes
version.
Sense, yeah.
I can't Bill's version. Like, is that that's a Taylor Swift nod, isn't it?
Yeah. It is.
It's weird. Like,
Yeah.
you're telling me that college football is just not so strange right now.
Well, but didn't Brady, when he registered like Tampa Bay and some other things, right?
Yeah, I get that
Also
you have
cheated
to
on his
like
pregnant
work
girlfriend.
ahead. Who did?
Oh yeah,
Tom Brady when he was in New England.
Bridget
before he
Moynihan.
got with Giselle,
Oh
he
yeah,
had-
with Giselle. Yeah.
Yeah, he was cheating on his pregnant girlfriend.
And now Giselle.
Tom
Look
Brady.
at how the
at least
tables have
Belichick
turned.
hasn't done that. We
Tom
don't
Brady,
think.
slightly scumbag.
It was shocking. It's
So,
shocking.
anyway, I don't have any problem with the way that she's standing by her man.
Oh, stand by
With her hands in his
your
pockets.
man. Is that with Tammy Wynette?
Or the Blues Brothers.
Oh, yes. Stand by your man. It's beautiful. But yeah, college football is a weird place right now. By the way, update on Nico E. Now I can always say
I am Oliva.
you always when I'm around you, I want to not say what it is correctly. But Nico is still waiting for a team, and now the reports are saying that some of the colleges are looking at maybe offering him around $1 million.
That's kind of sad, isn't it?
It is. It is. Iama Leava. Sorry. So Iama Leava.
Okay.
With Nico. And
I am Oliva.
it is basically what it spells out. But with Nico, I think that the best situation that could come for him is if he would distance himself sadly from his own father. Maybe it's just more of like a public thing of his father and his agent stepping out in the public and saying, we're not representing him anymore. That could be the best case scenario for him in saving his career.
I think so. But it appears as if he's going to lose a lot of money just by departing Tennessee, because the GMs, the money people, were saying in the article that they wouldn't give him anything. Several of them. Hey, how about Bach Hogg? Bach Hogg became a YouTube member. Thank you. We appreciate you very, very
I will
much.
say Bach Hogg was a constant texter.
Yeah, I remember.
To the old show.
Yeah.
So he's found us now on YouTube, and he's joined the stream. He's become a member. So thank you very much to Bach Hogg.
Thank you very
Welcome.
much. Yeah,
Thank
we
you for finding
would
us.
hope that you will be a participant in the show every day. All of you. We love the fact that you are here and that you participate with us.
As always, support the sponsors. And a great way to support one of our sponsors today, Hot Shots. They have a little deal similar to the Cardinals with Mobile on the Run in 6. When the Blues score more than 5 goals, you get $1 tacos at Hot Shots today. So the Blues ripped up, obviously, 4 last night. And so $1 tacos at Hot Shots. So go to hotshotsnet.com, find the location closest to you.
And by the way, if you want to support our businesses, all three of us are going to be out at St. Charles Kitchens and Baths tomorrow, 3:30 Mid Rivers Mall Drive. We'll be there from 10:02 until roughly 11:30.
No, hold on a second.
What?
No, we will be there at 10 o'clock.
We'll be on the air at 10.
We'll be there at 10 o'clock until.
That's early, though.
10.
That's earlier than when we usually are.
I'll be really tired.
All right,
I know.
Usually we start.
We're done.
Okay.
Are you not going to eat one of those sandwiches, like with the peanut butter and jelly?
Are they bringing them
watch
in?
you eat it. Is he
Yeah, I
like
don't know.
waiting? I could hear him in the
I have an
kitchen. I
appointment. He's
think.
probably eating.
Like,
So anyway, St. Charles Kitchens and Baths, 330 Mid Rivers Mall Drive, St. Peter's 63376. You can learn more at St. Charles Kitchens and Baths.com, and we'll put it up on the socials. Brooke will, Matthew will, I will, so that you know exactly where to stalk us tomorrow.
oh, don't do that.
No, you can. I've never had. Yeah. So St. Charles Kitchens and Baths.
Simple
tomorrow.
House saying there's a 2-minute
That
time
was
zone
fun.
change out there.
Oh,
And
there he is.
now
Here we
entering
go.
the studio, that's Joe Roderick's
Roderick.
music.
Okay. So what do we have on here, Joseph?
I haven't brought the chips yet.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We got
Oh.
bread.
Wait, we don't.
Okay,
wait,
this
you
is a
didn't.
start.
You didn't put the chips in the sandwiches.
I figured I'm not going to touch the chips. and put them in
Okay,
the
that's
sandwich.
fair. Okay, that's fair.
It's just
Yeah.
peanut butter. Oh, there's jelly on there.
There's
Okay.
Peanut butter jelly. Brooke, you're pregnant. What's the weirdest thing you've eaten so far?
I haven't had any weird cravings.
What's the weirdest
I
thing
really,
that Brooke has eaten so far in the pregnancy?
I haven't had
Yeah.
any
Oh, thank
like
you.
weird
Yeah.
Is there
cravings.
any-
You like
craving.
nacho cheese Doritos?
Has there been like a craving that has won out more than the other ones? Has
I'm
there been
just going-
anything that David's had to go get at like an odd time of day?
I will say that there was one when I was so in the first trimester, I had really weird food aversions, and then all of a sudden I finally got hungry in the second trimester. And I remember it was like 1 a.m. and I looked over at David and I said, "I need ribs right now."
Oh.
Like we gotta take advantage of this moment. Like I need ribs, but then there was nowhere we could find
Yes,
ribs,
what-
so
what
then I had to wait
morning?
till the next day,
What time was
and then I got sugar fired.
Glad you got.
It was 1 a.m.
Oh,
You know
okay.
So
We don't talk
Yeah.
about this. Pregnant women, I mean, just absolutely got leveled by COVID because there's places just aren't open until like 3 a.m. anymore.
no.
Like you
True.
could find a place that was going to be open until 3
Have
a.m.
you been
somewhere.
to Up Late?
No, I have not. What's this?
You haven't been to Up Late?
No,
Have
I've
you been to
not.
Up Late? No.
Not up late very
So
often.
I'm
Up
never
Late,
Up Late.
anybody in the chat, if you've been to Up Late, it's a really good, like they're up late, open late, and they have really good like sandwiches and stuff. It's over on Bandiventer.
Matthew,
Ooh,
you
I'm
got to
looking
come
at
and
it
make
right
a.
now. I'm trying to find the hours.
Great
They're
grilled
open
cheeses.
8 p.m. to 4 a.m. Thursday through Sunday. Oh, man.
So
that's
good.
food.
Make
So
a
good.
sandwich. Okay, so I just thank you very much for the regular chips.
I'm gonna just watch.
Okay,
You
I
want
am
the
not.
Doritos?
If you
combo?
weren't tuned in yesterday, I don't like Doritos, and I don't really like barbecue chips. I'm a basic chips kind of guy.
I can't
I'll
do
put
it because I
myself in
think I'll
camera
throw
over
up.
here.
Okay.
Sorry, everybody.
In case Brooke wanted to try to cut the PB&J, I thought that'd be a little easier.
Ellipsis 150 Brooke, you never answered my question from earlier. What is the food item that you've missed the most during your pregnancy? Sushi, sushi,
Oh.
sushi, sushi, and margaritas.
Oh,
I've had
yeah.
cravings for margaritas, and I'm not like a big drinker or anything, but I love a good margarita. Sushi and margarita, like I gotta have that immediately.
What kind of jelly is
After
this,
eating.
Joe?
Strawberry.
Oh,
Huh? They just don't recommend it. But honestly,
The
like if
mercury,
it's
I
like a good, yeah, because I guess the risk
Thank
is
you.
higher of food-borne infection or whatever it is.
Oh
Foodborne
my
illness,
God,
not
this is-
infection.
This is
Randy enjoys the
disgusting.
Lays.
Peanut
This
butter
is
and jelly with the regular
disgusting.
Lay's.
Oh, this is
I
disgusting.
offer my approval.
Was this strawberry jam?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of strawberry jam either, but I'm gonna eat it anyway. But
Oh,
go to the
by
she's
the
show.
in
way,
the bubble.
You guys,
Um,
you guys can see I'm in the bubble. We got
in the bubble?
we got
Oh, there
strawberry
we go.
jam here. I got my peanut butter and my Doritos here. Oh, this is disgusting.
No, this is good.
Somebody said Joe is a WWE fan, I believe. He should be and have a WrestleMania preview show. Don't you
we're
have
recording
one?
it Friday nights. It'll be up.
Oh, here we
available
go.
At 7 a.m. on Saturday.
There you go. I was like, I thought you were doing
Yeah.
something.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I thought.
What's the story of WrestleMania this year?
John Cena's a bad guy. this
Cena the
year
heel.
against
Okay.
Cody Rhodes.
He's naughty this year.
Oh,
You like it, don't you, Rock?
Yeah, you like that he's naughty, huh?
Rock enjoying the sandwich.
it's like a little kid, a baby that has candy
Are you-
for the
are
first
you
time.
Mad that you like it.
Hold on a second.
Oh, while you're doing that, I'm going to answer this question
Oh.
from Ellipsis 150. What is the best sushi place in town? Personally, Sato, and they have a happy hour menu from Tuesday to Thursday, and I think it ends at is it 6 or 5:30, Rock? I think it's around 6 or 5:30. The best sushi in town. Nick, who is over there, his family had a Thai restaurant here in town, sushi restaurant they've done forever, and now he has his own at Sato. The best sushi, closest, and you will never get close to Japan style, but closest to like fresh Japan. He flies it in
I'm
like the
really-
fish.
AI, I like going there just because it's all you can eat.
I do too. I do like and Sushi AI is another good one too.
How expensive are the?
I'm so confused.
The
right
PAM
now.
one's going to be with tariffs.
Guys, this doesn't suck.
I didn't think
This
about
is
it.
actually like. I'm also with This Could Be Ben, who says that PB&J has to be grape jelly. I'm not a big strawberry jelly fan, and yet,
Good.
man,
You like this? Is it good?
The cheese is. I honestly thought that the cheese Dorito would be super overpowering. Going to be super obvious, and it's not. It gives you the crunch, which I expected, obviously, but the cheesy flavor is not overpowering. My theory on why this flavor palette works, Brooke, is that it's essentially a charcuterie board. You got bread, you got a cracker, you got
there's
a
always
fruit,
some jam,
a nut, and cheese. So it kind of made sense in the same kind of flavor palette. And honestly,
you give me a big
this works.
Oh, a kick. Okay, good.
This works.
Okay, so since we're still here, I want to do this for you. This is, and Brooke, I emailed this story to you. Dateline, February 25th, 2007.
I see the title.
New England Patriots coach Bill Belichick has been supporting his alleged mistress, a New Jersey housewife, in the midst of a divorce by sending her envelopes stuffed with cash and buying a secret $2.2 million Park Slope townhouse for her use, court papers allege.
Wow.
For the last 18 months, Belichick has mailed or wired about $3,000 a month in cash to Sharon Shinoka, she said.
I got to look her up.
Belichick, she said, also paid for her $25,000 Jersey Shore summer rental in La Valette and showered her with gifts, including a private jet to Disney World and a FastPass credit card to pay for gasoline. He's just a swell guy.
Wow. So he's always kind of been, you know, like he has like a soft spot for this.
He does.
Did we ever find out whose house he was leaving on that ring cam?
Jordan's.
Was it Jordan's?
Yeah.
Or was that just, I thought it was just
I think that was Jordan's.
Was it, do you think it was actually, but why would she release the Nest camera video?
I think somebody might have hacked that.
Do you remember, that was the weirdest video. Remember that where all of a sudden he just comes out like shirtless in a random.
Great.
Man, Bill Belichick. We had no idea.
I can't believe I'm just gonna say Doritos on the peanut butter jelly work.
You like it?
It's an L. I don't know why. I feel like I'm catching an L on this one. I have to admit that Joe isn't crazy. Yeah, nicely played. I gotta try it now with grape jelly.
And you're very picky about your food, so this is a pretty big deal.
I am.
We know.
Especially weird food
Weird
combos really good.
Okay.
And by the way, to Brooke's question, Sato, incredible if you want sushi. But if you are like me and you go out to get sushi a lot, but maybe you do it with people who don't like sushi necessarily, there's also Indo.
Oh yeah, they have the hand rolls.
Has an incredible sushi. And it's, I like it too because it's a lot of nigiri and it's sashimi.
Yeah,
and there's still a lot of rolls, but they have nigiri and sashimi, which I personally like. But they also have an incredible non-sushi menu. So if you're looking for more of a more rounded thing, Indo is just as good, and it has just some crazy non-good sushi menus.
So like, if only a quarter of you like sushi.
Yeah.
Me. I love sushi. I love it so
sushi.
much.
I do too.
It's so
great.
good.
All right. Thank you for joining us on the Randy Karraker Show. So everybody that tried it gives a thumbs up to sandwich with chips, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich with chips. Hope to see you tomorrow at St. Charles Kitchen and Bath on Mid Rivers Mall Drive. And you can always see us again on YouTube. Don't forget, after the Cardinal game this afternoon, we'll have Cards Hub 365, and we will see you tomorrow morning from St. Charles Kitchen and Bath at what time?
10:02.
10 o'clock.